Just lay in Shavasana here. Inhale through your nose, exhale through your mouth. We're going to put our knees up and we're going to elevate using our glutes into bridge and back down. Back up to bridge, back down. Deep breath in, bridge, feel it in your glutes and back down. Now we're going to do little ab pulses here. We're going to go up and back down. Just little crunches here, feeling it in our abs. And remember to keep breathing. Just a couple more here. Arms by your side. Lift up, swing your legs around. Go into tabletop position. Make sure your hands are right under your shoulders, knees are under your hips. Now we're going to go into the cow move. Arch through your back, look up. Arch through your back, look down, tailbone to the ground. And cow. Back to cat. Cow. Really stretch through that spine there. Cat. And cow. Put your right arm out. Lift your left arm straight out behind you. Reach towards the wall behind you. This is your spinal balance. Other side. There we go. Now we're going to do both legs simultaneously. Right arm, left leg. Other side. Your spinal balance. You're really stretching out through your spine there. Reaching your arm out in front. Reaching that leg straight behind you. Remember to keep breathing. A couple more here. Back to our tabletop position. Now curl your toes under, back into down dog. Really push through. Try and get your chin to your knees and walk those legs out. Feel that in the back of your legs there, in your calves. Couple more here. Okay, reach your right leg up, sweep it through into a lunge. Now once you've balanced, bring those arms up, straight up. Put your shoulders down and bend. We're going to really feel it through that back leg there. Feel that stretch. Now come into warrior two. Bend into that front knee, look over the front arm. Okay, now we're going to get into our sunflower position. So turn your toes out, bring your arms up, and bend all the way, deep lunge. Elbows to thighs, back up. Deep squat, back up. We're really trying to warm up our legs. We call this the sunflower. I'm just going to do a couple more. We come to the front of our mat there. Reach up. Swan dive, forward fold. Step back to lunge. Down dog. Now sweep the other leg up, through to lunge. Once you're balanced there, bring your arms up. Bend deep into that front knee there, knees over your ankle. Turn into warrior two on the opposite side and look through that front arm there. Make sure your knees are over your toes. Turn your knees out to the side, feet out to the side. We're going back into that deep lunge. We're doing the moon now. So it's similar to the sunflower, but we're bringing our arms all the way over our head and all the way sweeping motion. Really just trying to warm up for the rest of the class. Really get that range of motion. Remember to keep breathing. Exhale, inhale, exhale. Come up, step to the front of the mat there. We'll come back into mountain pose.
We're going to start by lifting our arms into prayer. We're going to swan dive into forward fold and half up to monkey, back down into forward fold. We're going to step our feet back into plank, down into chaturanga, and up into cobra, feeling the stretch in our core. We're going to curl our toes and step back into downward dog, making sure we're breathing We're going to kick our right leg up and back and swing it to the front of our mat into a lunge, positioning our hands on our thighs to stabilize and lifting our arms into prayer or heart center, whatever feels best. We're going to sweep our arms down back onto our mat and go back into a plank, down into chaturanga, lifting up into cobra, curling our toes back into downward dog, and then we're going to walk our hands and feet to the front of our mats. We're going to reverse swan dive up into prayer, sweeping into chair, back up to prayer, and then we're going to repeat back down into forward fold, half up to monkey, back down to forward fold, stepping back into plank, slowly down into chaturanga, lifting up into cobra, feeling it in our core, curling our toes into downward dog. We're going to kick our right leg up again, back, and swing it to the front of our mats. We're going to position our hands on our thighs to stabilize into a lunge and lift our arms to prayer or heart center, whatever feels best. We're going to sweep our arms down, putting our hands on our mat. We're going to bring our legs back into plank, chaturanga, lifting up into cobra, curling our toes into downward dog, and then we're going to walk our hands and feet to the front of our mat, reverse swan dive all the way up to the sky, sweeping into chair, and back up.
So we're going to start with our hands up in prayer. We're going to swan dive here into forward fold and come halfway up into monkey, keeping our backs straight. We're going to drop our hands back down again into forward fold and step back into plank position. We're going to come down into chaturanga and then pushing up into cobra, feeling the stretch in our core and keeping our heads nice and tall. We're going to curl our toes, come back into downward dog and feel the stretch in our calves. Raising our legs up and stepping into lunge. We're going to move our hands up to the sky into prayer and hold the lunge. We're then going to step back down into plank and come back down into chaturanga, pushing up into our cobra again. We're then going to step up and push back, walking our feet into downward dog, and then pulling our feet back up and standing up, moving back into prayer, and then sitting down in chair, keeping our backs nice and tall. Hands back up into prayer, and then forward fold. Come halfway up to monkey, keeping our backs nice and straight, touching our toes and back into plank. We're then going to move back down into chaturanga and push up through cobra, visualizing a string, pulling our head to the sky, and then stepping back into downward dog. We're going to lift our right leg, pushing up, and then step into lunge. Raising our hands to the sky into prayer, and then stepping back down, walking our leg out, and going back into plank position. Pushing down into chaturanga and back up into cobra. We're then going to push back into downward dog, feeling the stretch through our calves, and step back in, hands up to prayer, and then sitting down into chair. Bringing our hands back up to the sky, and then our hands to our heart center.
Okay, so now we're going to swan dive down, and then we're going to step our feet back into a plank position, making sure to hold our core. Now we're going to push back into a downward dog position and sweep our right leg up and through in between our hands. Now come up into a warrior one position, both feet flat on the ground, hands up and facing forward, and just hold that here. Really feel that. Now we're going to rotate out into our warrior two. Make sure that your one foot is perpendicular to the other. Again, hold that there and come down into a side angle, looking up towards our palm. Next, we're going to go into a reverse warrior pose. Look up towards the sky at your hand. Feel that stretch in your lower back. Keep those legs engaged. Really press into the pose. Now we're going to spiral down, and we're going to go into a plank. Push back into down dog again. And then this time we're going to bring our left leg up, and then come down in through the hands, and come back into warrior one on the opposite leg. And again, we're going to hold that position, making sure you're looking forward, your arms are straight, engage your core. And open up into a warrior two position, again making sure that back leg is perpendicular. And then look over your one arm. Now come down into that side angle position, looking up towards the sky at your hand. Feel that stretch in your oblique. And come back into a reverse warrior pose. Again, looking up towards the sky, feeling that stretch in the opposite oblique this time, reaching as far as you can. And spiral back down. Come back into a plank position. Down dog. And step right through, up to the front of your mat. Reverse swan dive. And take mountain pose.
Beginning in mountain pose at the front of your mat, feeling the spine long and straight, we're going into tree pose on the right side. Shift your weight onto your right foot. Reach down with your left hand and clasp your left ankle. You can grab your lower calf if this feels better. Bring your left foot up and place it against your inner thigh. Another modification is pressing it against your calf, keeping in mind we don't want to press it onto our knee, making sure our pelvis remains in a neutral position. We're going to bring our hands into heart center or raise them above your head into the shape of branches. Taking deep breaths here and trying to remain our balance. From here, we're going to transition into eagle pose on the right side. If you can do this without putting your foot down, that is great. But if you need a break, that's also fine. It's all about listening to what the body tells you. Keeping your weight on your right leg, we're going to bring the left leg and wrap it around our thigh, and then hook it around behind the lower calf. You should have your knees bent so it feels like a squat with your legs getting a little sore. Take the arms out, stretch them forward so they're parallel. Feeling a stretch, cross your right arm over the left and bend the elbows. They should be perpendicular to the ground. Make sure your palms are facing each other. We're going to hold this for a few more seconds. Untwist, come into mountain pose, starting a flow series. Swan dive into forward fold. Half lift to monkey. Forward fold. Step back into plank. Push back into down dog. Forward into plank. Chaturanga. Up into cobra. And push back into down dog. Slowly walk our feet forward. Reverse swan dive, and coming into mountain. We are now going to repeat the tree pose and eagle on our left side. Putting our weight into our left leg, we're going to reach down and grab our right ankle, putting it against the most comfortable place onto our leg. Bring the arms into heart center or into branches above our heads. Now we are going to transition into eagle. Keeping the weight on the left leg if you feel able, we're going to wrap our right leg around our left, bringing our arms into the same position as they were before, remembering that our palms should be facing each other. Coming into mountain pose now, we are going into our next balance pose, birds of paradise, which can also be called extended hand to big toe. Bring your weight onto your right leg and lift your left knee to your chest. Reach your left arm down to grab onto the outside of the left foot. You should feel your thigh muscles contracting as you maintain your balance. Straighten your left leg and bring it out to the side of your body, keeping your chest and hips open. There are many modifications to this pose. For example, grabbing your calf, or rather just holding the pose lower. Slowly release your leg and come back into mountain. We're now going to do this on the opposite side. So once again, reach your hands down, grab the outside of your foot, and lift it up to the outside of your body. In this pose, we want to feel our hips opening and a stretch through our hamstrings, maintaining balance to the best of our ability. Come back into mountain pose. Swan dive into forward fold. Half lift to monkey. Forward fold. Push back into plank. Down dog. Plank. And come into tabletop. We are now going into crow. With your hands placed shoulder width apart on the mat with fingers spread and a slight bend in the elbows, we're going to lift our heels off the ground and press our knees onto our triceps. Shift your weight into your fingertips and slowly lift one foot off the ground at a time. Focus on drawing your belly button towards your spine, feeling your core at work. Our gaze should be between our hands in order to maintain our balance. Remembering to take many breaths here, as we don't want to stop breathing as we're doing this pose. Come back into mountain.
Lifting your arms up to prayer and down into forward fold. Step your legs out into a wide forward fold and stretch it out here. You can put your hands on your elbows, or if you're feeling flexible enough, put your hands down to the floor. Really stretching the backs of our legs in this one. We're going to take one arm to the opposite leg and lifting your opposite arm up to the sky. Looking up to your hand and really feeling that stretch through the chest, really opening up your chest for this. We're going to switch to the other side, so walking that hand over to the opposite leg, looking up to the sky. We're going to walk our legs together into forward fold and step back into down dog. Really trying to push your chin to your knees here, walking out your feet, transferring your weight from side to side. We're going to drop our knees down into puppy, which is a modified down dog, stretching our arms out in front of us and head forward. We're going to stretch out into baby cobra, putting your elbows on the ground, stretching back and really opening up your chest. We're going to take a couple breaths here. And we're going to push back up into tabletop, keeping our knees under our hips. Stepping forward with one leg into runner's lunge, placing your arms on your thigh. Really stretching through that back leg. We're going to drop that front leg down into pigeon, extending our stretch, and if you feel fit, drop your elbows down to the ground. Getting that nice stretch in the back leg. When you're ready, you're going to come back up to tabletop and repeat on the other side. So swing that other leg forward, coming up into runner's lunge. Making sure you're keeping your chest up and not leaning forward. Again, we're going to drop that leg down into pigeon, extending the stretch through the back leg. We're going to come back up into tabletop. And then push it back into child's pose. Really stretching out the back here, holding this for a couple breaths. We're going to swing our legs forward onto our bum and go into a spinal twist. So putting one leg over the other and reaching that arm across the knee, looking over your shoulder. We're going to do that on the opposite leg as well, really feeling the stretch within your back. Then we're going to come into butterfly with our feet touching, trying to lean over, getting your nose to the ground. Really trying to keep a flat back here. Then we're going to lie back into the reclined goddess position, which is just butterfly lying on the ground. We're going to focus on our breathing here, inhaling through our nose and exhaling through our mouth. We're going to straighten our legs and lift one leg over the other, straightening our arms and looking over the opposite shoulder. We're going to switch those legs, lifting the other leg over, looking over the opposite shoulder now. And we're just going to lie here flat on your back in Shavasana, taking your time to do your breaths. Releasing all the tension you have throughout the class. Just focusing on your breathing. And we're going to sit up into a cross-leg position or whatever's comfortable for you. Take your arms into heart center. Bow the head. Namaste.